Hi everybody, it's Travis Calsill from crewgear.com Industrial Dream Supply. Welcome to the site. If this is your first visit to Crew Gear, this is the place to be, and this is the first video you should be watching. It'll bring you up to speed. It's the first video that you should be introducing yourself to, as I am doing vice versa. So I am Travis. I am the CEO, creator, purveyor, and fan at all times around these parts of all things horrific dream related. The site has become the showcase, although I build other models, for pretty much one model and a couple versions thereof. The original Hero Part 1/Part 2 screen used razor glove. And what I can tell you is after 24 years of building these things, they've been in my life so long I can't remember anything else. So, sit back, enjoy the rest of the site. Please do watch the rest of this video. I'll be explaining what I call the DESA, or Definitive Edition Screen Accurate, as far as Crew Gear is concerned, Part 1/Part 2/Hates the Becker razor glove. And if you want to know what Hates the Becker means and why I have an I Hate Mike Becker t-shirt on, that will be explained shortly. I don't really hate Mike. I just really do. We all do. And he knows why. Thank you very much for your patronage. Please do have a look around the site, and once you finish watching this video, it should bring you up to speed as to everything that's going on at crewgear.com. Welcome to the wonderful world of razor gloves. Welcome to Crew Gear. I'm Travis Calsill, your host. Also, owner, operator, and purveyor of all things horrific dream related around this notorious little site. The following is a special presentation, a documentary created over the course of several months. It depicts several segments, and within those segments, several subparts, showing close-up and personal my methodologies, approaches, and procedures of building a DESA, or Definitive Edition Screen Accurate razor glove, as far as Crew Gear is concerned. Over the course of this open-ended ongoing documentary, you'll learn my methods of how to build a razor glove, up close and personal. I'm going to be divulging a lot of my well-held-to-the-chest trade secrets, stuff I've never talked about before. I'm going to be giving tips, ongoing commentary, and maybe even a few surprises. So please sit back, enjoy, screen grab, record, save, download, upload, Facebook, Twitter, or tweet this documentary, Creating the DESA. And whatever you do, as always, don't fall asleep. People obsess about all sorts of things, movies of all kinds. Myself and others, we're all drawn to horror. And horror is what brings us here to this special documentary, Creating the Kruggear.com DESA. And as with any good piece of footage, we will open with the subject of what we're going to be looking at and talking about, the Part 1/Part 2 razor glove. And you're looking at the actual physical prop as screen grabbed, the Mike Becker screen use glove, and we're panning down to my final revised version of what I call the DESA. And for those of you who know what this glove is, you are looking at the culmination of 24 some odd years of a lot of work. So many versions of this glove have been built by me. So many versions of the same version, really. And what it boiled down to in the end of finally being happy with this piece, shifting between the Part 1 and the Part 2, there were some minor modifications we'll talk about later in this video. Going between all the reference, and it did boil down to all the reference. There is virtually not an angle on this thing at this point that's not out there somewhere, that's not easily obtainable on the web. Hundreds of reference photos. It wasn't until this photo you just saw, the Mike Becker photo. Photos were released by Mike Becker, gracious enough to donate that little gift to the community of glove makers and fans, that I was really able to put this together. As much as I touted that I had, and I had gotten very close on numerous occasions, even when I started deciding to do the DESA, the definitive edition, screen accurate, as far as Kruggear is concerned, I thought I had it, and really up until the making of this video, I was still tweaking things that I hadn't seen, and frankly, it was, ironically, it was the documentary, the NSA documentary footage on disc 2, that finally kind of put the nail in the coffin for me in terms of putting my tools away and saying, job, pretty well done. I'd seen it when it had come out once or twice, but I never really watched, the glove segment until quite recently again. I did a little bit of a revisiting on it, and lo and behold, it was those wonderful shots that Mike was so gracious to actually provide, those close-up turns. He didn't have to do it, and they proved to be invaluable and maddening, really maddening. I mean, this glove it's a fucking nightmare. I mean, it really, really is. There's no two ways about it. But what I decided to do in looking at it was, I looked at it, I looked at the DESA versions that I was working on and the client gloves that I was working on, and I was like, it's good enough, but I got to be able to see what I saw on the screen. And, I had the Part 1 version I was dealing with versus, okay, I had to make a Part 2 for a client, and it's like, oh, okay, there's little differences. And I couldn't differentiate between the two. I kept going back and forth and wanting to make one version this and one version that. I couldn't decide. And finally what it came down to was I need to build the Becker glove. I need to reconstruct, reverse engineer. I need to duplicate that screen-used glove as it is today in order to go ahead and then make the minor changes that were done between the Part 1 and the 2. So essentially now we have 3 DESAs, a Part 1, a Part 2, and the Becker clone, which I say very humbly, because it's still, you know, it's damn close. It's as close as I'm ever going to get it. But I mean, we're talking in terms of micromillimeters at this point that I could never get. I could spend hours and hours and hours and days and weeks, and I just can't do it. And really, for all intents and purposes, at this point, it fits, it lays, it displays, it bends, it buckles, it presents all of the telltale details that are visible in that documentary to a very, very close degree. And that's good enough for me. So this is the base glove that I build all of my gloves off of. I created a final set of templates from the original DESAs. I modified them slightly to get these fine-tuned details. And these are the gloves that my outstanding clients are receiving. The finish on this piece is, you know, I didn't want to do the whole 9 yards. I gave it a very basic Becker finish, as I'm going to call it. It's, you know, it's got a little bit of discoloration. It's got the blacks on the index, and you know, it's a little rough and tumble, and I darkened up the backplate. It's by no means a screen accurate finish, but I wanted to at least give a semblance of the visage of what we saw on the documentary for this glove. So that being said, what we're really looking at here is the armature, the patterns, the bends, the buckles, the degrees of articulation, the fulcrum points, all of those things that I've taken a little bit of time and kind of recreated for the purposes of this and added a few more little sweep arounds. And, you know, for the glove guys who build these, you know, maybe they'll get something out of it. That'd be really cool. For the fans, you know, maybe you'll get some enjoyment out of this. And for me, it's just, you know, this is my kind of signature piece that I've been working for personally toward for my whole adult life. And as far as this master build glove, which it is now for me, is concerned, I'm not going to be adding the braces to it. It's going to stay exactly as it appeared in the documentary, and it will remain the Kruggear.com DESA Becker clone. But let's go forward and show these last few close-up shots from segment 1 of this documentary, and move on to segment 2. So finishing up here, you know, I'm by no means an authority on anything. Certainly not gloves, and certainly not the series itself. But I am a fan, and I do build gloves. But being that I don't sell them, and having had my history, you know, with the franchise, with the gloves, with being a glove maker, a glove replicator, I know the trials and tribulations that people like me go through. The maddening psychoses, the late nights, stopping each frame of a VCR when VCRs were in, and now, you know, using screen grabs with today's technology to get not only the angles that were displayed by Mike in the NSA documentary, but also that we have at our fingertips with every bit of reference, either online, on disc, you name it. And part of the reason why this took as long as it did, and part of the reason it was as difficult a task as it was, is that me, you know, I myself and others like me who've been building, you know, if not as long, at least, you know, half as long, we came up with technology, and we did not have the advent or the opportunity or the luxury of the technology that many of the new glove guys have today, and the old hacks like me now have and can take advantage of. But even that having even been said, it's not everything. You know, there are still those angles that a lot of people can't figure out. I was one of them. I can't tell you, you know, going from one picture to the next picture to get a different angle of the same piece, etc., etc. It's just insanity. It's absolutely crazy. And part of the reason that I brought Kruger back was to give back to this hobby that has made me not only nuts on more than one occasion, but also extremely happy. Some of my most intense artistic sessions have been working on these things. And it's a very fulfilling hobby. It suits my meticulous nature and my creative side, and it's one of the many things that I do. But all that is semantics. What I'm really trying to say is part of the reason I brought this whole business back, that I started way, way back when, was to say, you know what? Here's what I learned. If you agree with it, great. Hopefully you agree that I got it to at least a close approximation. And if it helps you out, here are some more angles that aren't online, aren't available anywhere else. Like I'm doing, right here. I decided, you know what, I'm going to spin this sucker around and give you as many shots as I can without really giving you every nook and cranny detail, because I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to give you everything, because you got to keep some things for yourself, but I'm going to give you enough to go on, definitely. I mean, if I were presented with everything on this video, plus all the reference that's out there from the original screen props, plus blah, 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 with enough time and effort, I could probably say, yeah, this would be enough. I'm hoping it is, and I hope you guys get something out of it. And for those of you who don't agree with me, and believe me, there are going to be, a million of you out there, that's totally fine. I mean, we all have, we all see things differently. But this is how I see it. And what I will say going forward into segment 2, if I can offer any advice whatsoever, it's this. Avoid symmetry at all costs. Not one single area of this glove, I learned in the end, is symmetrical. From the back plate being lopsided before you even bend it, to every finger having a different measurement, every tip having a different volume, it's just completely asymmetrical. And the other thing that I would say, if you really want to know, and we'll talk more about this in segment 2 as I actually show the process of bringing from bare, sheet metal to a finished copy of a part 1 and a part 2, Kruger DESA. It's not just about the shapes, it's about the light and the reflection on the shapes, and that is half the battle. And we'll talk more about that shortly. Hope you've enjoyed this first very long segment. And please feel free to grab these, post these online, put them on your Facebooks, share them between builders, debate them, dissect them, do whatever you guys want to do. These are for the community, these are for you, and hopefully you'll get more out of segment 2 when we get into the actual physical building process. And as I leave you now, it's been a pleasure, and thank you for your attention.